Hey everyone, I am here in North Carolina and I wanted to just jump on and talk to you about some of the things that I have had like some aha moments about. And today is day 677 of my sobriety journey, and it's been a quite a journey. That's why it's called a journey. But I feel like the first 6 months were easy. I had made the decision to get sober because I was tired of the way life was, and I just couldn't continue on that way. And if anybody knows me, they know that I am completely driven by a challenge. And so I had once upon a time thought I couldn't get sober. I had talked about getting sober before, and people around me had tested me, put things in front of me that I use as an excuse to self-sabotage my efforts. And so once I made that public declaration that I'm getting sober, it was really easy to stick to it, because it was like I, kind of get off on like doing what others say that I can't do. And it was great, and I made it through. And then I just stayed so busy. I stayed busy with my kids, trying to make up for lost time. And then once I got through the first year, I assumed that it would be easy then. And I've shared recently that it's gotten harder as I'm approaching year 2, because your mind starts playing tricks on you that like, oh, you've done it this long, you've done a great job, way to go. Maybe you really didn't have a problem, maybe you learned how to cope better, and, I've had all these things. But so much about sobriety, I shared with a friend that I'm like, being sober is hard. And I said, it's harder now than it was in the beginning. And she's like, oh, I understand, how hard it must be to not drink. No, not drinking is the easy part. What is hard is facing who I am, facing the ugly truths about who I am, and really feeling everything 100%, and being fully aware of just how much work needs to be done to live a better life. And that's why I got sober, is I knew that the way I was living just wasn't working. And I knew that if I kept doing that for another 5 years, another 10 years, oops, somebody called, my life would be way worse. And so that's been my motivation, is to keep going. And so if any of you have been following me, you know that I'm doing a part of this test group called 80-Day Obsession. And the way it works is we are eating at specific times each day for the sole purpose of muscle repair, energy, preparing your food so that it's digested and absorbed right. So I'm 100% committed that if you know what I do, then I am like all in. I'm 100% committed. And so this has been very eye-opening that October is going to be 2 years of being sober, and I am 31 days into this 80-Day Obsession group where literally we're really focusing on our food. And I realized how much food had been something that has helped me get through the last 600 days. And in the beginning, I started off really unhealthy. And so those first 6 months were easy, because I was like, I'm going to get back in shape. I'm going to get my body back. And I did. I got down to my ideal weight, my ideal size. I felt great. And then that 6 month period of like, hey, I did it, wore off. And then I started turning to food for comfort. And I didn't really realize that until recently. I have really noticed that in the last year, I kept thinking like, oh, I'm gaining weight. Maybe it's because of the medication. And I do feel like the medication I have to treat my mental illness, because I take several medications that unfortunately when I don't take it, I can really tell a difference. So it's helping me lead a life that's, somewhat normal. But I think that contributes to it. But it was my eating habits. I was turning to food, and I was using that as a way to cope. And something new that has really, really hit was I've realized I realized this a couple months ago, but I hadn't really put it into words. I hadn't really accepted it. But I've been a workaholic my whole entire life. Like, that has just been who I am. That's just been who my identity was. And I've realized that, especially now since I've cut out the emotional eating to use to cope, well, then work has been something where I just have to be busy. Like, I'm over the part of like self-loathing. I'm over the part of hating myself. I still struggle with, my self-worth, and I think that people are going to leave me and that they're going to hurt me and that it doesn't matter. And I've allowed myself to get jaded and put a wall up and not love wholeheartedly to safeguard myself, because our brain is an old machine, and we have it to help us survive, not to really thrive. And so if we get in our brain and live by that, it's so easy that anything we've associated to pain, we will naturally move away from. But I realized that work has been another one of my coping mechanisms. A lot has to do with the household I grew up in. Love wasn't there. I had to provide acts of service. I had to be very hyper vigilant about everything I did to try to get the acceptance from my narcissistic parents. And, nothing I ever did was good enough. So I would just do what I could control. And that was work. Like, when I worked, like, it was my own hands doing work. And that's why when I've worked anywhere, I've always been striving to not be the best employee, but to be the best that I could, so that I wouldn't be replaced, so that I would be remembered, so that I would be valued. And that's where I have gotten my significance and my connection, because everything I do for love and for connection. And it's so easy to get so wrapped up in that. And I finally decided to, like, hey, I should talk about it, because there's other people out there who are go. Back in the day when I was drinking, that was part of, like, just numbing myself from the issues that I had. If I just kept going, kept partying, always had an event to go to, places to go, people to be around, and that's always been my life. I've worked through so many stages of things that held me back, to the point where now I can be alone. It used to be that I couldn't be alone. Like, I had to be surrounded by people. I had to have music on all the time, because I could not stand to be alone with my thoughts, because I fucking hated myself that much. So I moved past that. And then I just had to stay busy, traveling all the time, partying all the time. I was like, every weekend was just go, till the wheels fell off. Well, then I stopped drinking. I stopped partying. People who had the same issues, we don't have anything in common anymore. And so now it's like, oh, now what is left to that's unhealthy? And that is work. My work ethic, I'm very proud of. I work hard for what I want, for what my family needs, to not be mediocre, to not half-ass shit, because however you do anything is how you do everything. So my work, I do well, because when I do well in my work, I do well in other aspects. But I realized that I work a lot, and my friend Lou, that I met through what I do, 5 years ago, our family has created an amazing friendship, like family, with him. And he'll come visit us, and he's the one that comes and visits me and doesn't expect me to cook him food. He's here to, like, help take care of the kids, help Brian out, help me out. And that's just who he is, and that's part of what I love. And he has known that he knows that I'm high strung. Whenever I'm at the house, he's at the house, he's like, just chill. I'll take care of it. I'll help with the kids. Like, and he loves doing that. But he also, like, knows how I am. I'm very high strung. Like, I was wound up like an 8-day clock. So whenever we talk on the phone, he's always like, just calm down, take a breath. It's okay. It's funny because Rebel tells me that now all the time, because he's heard Lou say that. But he's known that I just work till the wheels fall off, and he's said, if you ever just need a getaway, come visit. And I've always been like, no, I can't, because I have too much to do, and blah 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 blah. And then and then Ryan this weekend is opening dub season, and he was going fishing with the boys, and then I thought, well, maybe I should go, and I was like, no, I should stay here. And then finally I was like, no, I need to. I talk about self-care, I talk about this, and honestly, I don't have a lot of girlfriends. I don't have that are local. My life has rapidly changed in the last 2 years. The people that I was really good friends with, we no longer speak. I just stay at home a lot. So I decided to come here. Like, a lot of people will go out for wine with their friends. They'll do different things. But like, for me, like, coming here is like a retreat. But because I knew that he would take care of me, that he would push me to take care of myself, that I could come here and not have to take care of anybody and just focus on myself. And that was one thing 2 years ago when I checked myself in to mental health hospital because I had a mental breakdown. That was the best thing I could do. Is like, I didn't have to take care of anybody. I just had to take care of myself. And like, and I've learned that that's so important. But kind of like I talked about in a live video earlier today, that like, there's things that just are just ingrained in our brain and we just do without thinking, and we just revert back to old ways. I was talking about how the power was out when we were here yesterday, and I kept going into every room, turning on lights, knowing good and well that the power was out, but it's just like this, you know, natural reaction. And so I catch myself falling back into those patterns of like sinking myself into other people's problems because I'm like a ridiculous empath. Like, if you have a problem, I feel your pain and I want to fix it. I want to make it better for you. And so when I came here, I knew that I could take care of myself. That, you know, but I will say that I'm such a workaholic, and that's when I'm learning to face this now. Because it's funny, because I started this book called Present Over Perfect, and it's exactly what I needed to hear. I highly recommend it if you are somebody like me who just feels like you have to have your world filled up with work or doing things, or have your laptop open, or helping people, or just scurrying from here to there. The stillness and the busy and not having busyness makes you feel like you're going crazy. And so this book's been really helpful. But when I was getting on the plane yesterday, I thought, God, I can't wait to see Lou. I can't wait to be in North Carolina, because I actually want to I thought about relocating here when the girls get older. So I'm like, I'd like to stay here for a couple days, because I've only just been here twice in passing, and I have other friends that I'm going to be seeing. But I thought, oh, you know, this is great, it's going to be fun, you know, blah 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 blah. And then panic set in. I was like, oh my God, I was like, Lou's not going to let me work. And like, I had this like freaking fear and like anxiety and like stress. And like, then I'm like, oh no, I don't want to like yell at him, but I was like, I have to work. And like, then I realized, like, you have a problem. Like working hard is something to be admired and to be respected. But if like, you can't literally go for 4 or 5 days somewhere, and your only fear about going somewhere is that somebody's not going to let you work after you've been busting your ass for really a long time, my whole entire life, then that's a problem. And so, you know, those are things that I tell you these things because you might be living the same life. You might just be frantically and going through every day trying to fill your time up. And because I hear this all the time from people, I'm too busy, I don't have enough time. I say it all the time too, but I do have time. I have more time now than I ever had, but I still find a way to fill my life up with just stuff to stay busy. And it keeps me feeling significant. It makes me feel like people will respect me. It's how I show who I am. And I'm now having to learn to find different ways to cope and to not identify myself with that. And that being a hard worker is great, and I don't ever want to change that about myself, but also to find some balance, and that's not how you get love, and that's not how performing acts of service for people, it's not how you're going to guarantee that they're not going to abandon you or leave. And so, you know, I share this part about sobriety because not to scare people, but like, here's the thing is, you may be listening to the stuff that I talk about my sobriety thinking like, fuck, that's like hard work, or like, oh, I don't want to go through that, I don't want to do that. But the thing is, can you imagine if you never fix that and you lived your whole entire 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 years of life never fixing those things, just going through life, staying busy, staying drunk, staying high, whatever. People have addictions, whether it's sex, shopping, food, drugs, I mean, codependent relationships, all these things. Like, I'd rather put in the work now, which is really tough, and I have a lot of support from my sober sister. One of my best friends, Melissa, she is like a year behind me on her sobriety journey. We became friends because we were partiers, and so I've helped her, and so we've been going through these things together, and we talk about it. But it's just, you know, I tell you this because I don't ever want you to think that getting sober is easy, but I also want you to know that getting sober is worth it. Just like I talk about fitness, it's like getting fit, losing weight, doing 1 hour workouts is fucking hard, but it's worth it. It's better than a lifetime of sitting on the couch, taken prescription medications for things that could have been avoided. And that's the thing, is that my journey in sobriety is going to be different than somebody else's, but there are things you have to work through. And the thing is, these things were always present. My mind was just too foggy to recognize it. I was too weak, leaning on crutches of alcohol and drugs and work and all these different things to fix it. And I don't think it's too late. I mean, once upon a time I thought it was too late, but I'm like, God, I'm 36. It's really not too late. I'm like, I could have another half of my life left, and I want to live a good life. But, you know, I never realized that my work ethic wasn't just good work ethic. It was a way to cope. It was a way to earn my, you know, place in a society, and it's a way to bury it and to control the controllable. If I don't feel like I can control things with relationships or things in my life, I'll sink myself into work. And the hardest thing is one of the things that was said in the book that I was reading was, she was talking about how she was, and she met this guy on this ferry, and he was talking about, I can't remember what his profession was, but he was talking about how it was so easy to get the love and to make other people who you don't know or strangers feel important, but then when you get home at the end of the day, you're spent, you're tired, it's so robotic and mechanical that you don't have it for your family. And he was all alone then, and I thought, you know, I need to find that balance, because if I'm not feeling in a good place with my family, like if I think my kids don't care about me, and a lot of that's just my mental way of thinking, or if, you know, things aren't good between Ryan and I at the moment, then I'll sink myself into work. Well, that's just a temporary fix. And yes, the people on my team, the people that I help, are super important, but sinking myself 120% into them is just to help making me ignore the really important thing. And at the end of the day, the people in my household, the people that I share the same last name and DNA with, those are the people that matter. And so, you know, it's been really eye-opening. And so I'm here, you know, Lou's like not going to take away my work or me sharing some of the stuff I do on social media. But, you know, he said tonight, he's like, we're going to put our phones away and you're going to relax. And that's uncomfortable to me, because I'm like, I don't know how. But that's why I'm here. Like, this is my women's retreat, is coming somewhere where I can just be, and somebody can monitor me and say, you're going to have fun. And I think it's so funny, but I don't know how to have fun. And I used to always think that alcohol made me fun, but now I'm realizing that I have to learn myself and how to have fun all over again. So anyways, this is day 677 from North Carolina, and that's how I'm feeling today.